Hi there, everybody. Welcome to the Ad Bounce Podcast. John Luck, Mary Evers with you. We are being streamed right now on all of our podcast platforms, also on BTV's YouTube page. Search BTV Access Corporation. We're on Twitter as well. We'll get all that information out as we go along. But I want to start off with the Boston Red Sox because, wow, except for that 20-7 beatdown.
8.
Okay, 20-8, whatever it is, it was a meaningless game. We'll get to that in a minute.
Right.
This team has been an absolute abysmal disaster in the first few days of August. How did we get here? Because this was a team that was up there as far as the best teams in baseball, and here we are on, August 12th, and we're cheering about them getting a lot of runs against the Tampa Bay Rays last night in Game 2 of their 3-game series. But before that, not very good for this baseball team.
No, they peaked too soon is what happened. They burnt out, and I really think that's what happened to them because their bats just kind of fell away and their bullpen imploded. We're talking about May and June. We're talking about one of the best bullpens in baseball, and now all of a sudden, trade deadline comes and goes. They get a couple of arms for the bullpen. Both of them are atrocious and haven't done anything good since they've got here. And then Matt Barnes the bed, so that's also an issue, and it just seems like everyone has physically and emotionally given up on the season.
I don't know if we're at the point where we need to start giving up on the season.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's what it feels like right now. I'm not saying it'll stay that way, but for now it's not looking good.
Well, if you have 10-game stretches like the Red Sox have had, we're going to end up in that place. Between July 28th and August 11th, the Red Sox went 4-11. And over the last 10 games, they've gone 3-7.
Yeah.
There's only been 5 teams that have been worse than the Red Sox in the last 10 games.
Okay.
Baltimore, they're 38-74.
Sure, they suck.
Washington, 50-63. The Cubs, 52-64. Pittsburgh, 41-73, and Arizona, 35-80.
It's funny that the Cubs and the Nationals are on that list because they were both sellers at the deadline, and theoretically Boston should have been buyers at the deadline, and they didn't. And me and you have opposing thoughts about that, but I just, they're somehow gotten to become a tier of team that isn't in it anymore, and that's weird. I mean, obviously they're still in it. They're still in the wild card spot.
They're still in the AL East too.
Right. Oh no, I agree. And as it stands, the season ended today, they'd be in the wild card spot, and then they'd make the playoffs. But so far this month, it seems like if you were to just look at this month and not look at the rest of the season, you would think that the Red Sox are obviously not the worst team in the AL East because the Orioles will forever and always hold that spot. But the second to last at least, and somehow they're still in front of the Yankees and Toronto for now. I don't know how long that's going to last though, because it seems like both of those teams are heating up when the Red Sox are not doing so well.
So there are some catchfalls here for the Red Sox. I mean, I'm not the world's biggest Red Sox fan.
No, not you.
You're aware of that.
Yeah.
But like you said, this team peaked way too early, and I think this is kind of a microcosm of the differences between how Alex Cora runs a baseball team and how Chaim Bloom runs a baseball team. Because Chaim Bloom, it's all about the analytics, and it's all about the strength, the swing rate, the exit velocity, and things like that. Alex Cora, we like this matchup as opposed to this matchup.
Right.
We're starting to see that more, especially since the All-Star break. I think I charted out 10 games since the All-Star break. In that time, there were maybe 3 or 4 times the starters went more than 5 or 6 innings.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, Alex Cora has been using and abusing this bullpen.
Yeah.
And to me, the top candidate is Matt Barnes. Look at what he did in the opening game of the 3-game set, a series that the Red Sox need to have to stay face in the AL East race.
Right.
Matt Barnes comes in, and all of a sudden the lead's gone, and I think you could almost hear the air coming out of Fenway Park.
Oh, for sure. My brothers were actually at Fenway for the game, and they were, the beginning of the game texting like, oh, it's 4-1, the Red Sox are finally going to win, and they're going to beat Tampa, blah, blah, blah. And then it was just like they came home, and it was like they were completely different people.
So it's like having Jared Kravis in your family.
Right, yeah, exactly.
World Series back on!
Yeah, Series back on. Didn't you, I mean, if you were on Twitter at all today, you would know that the season actually only started yesterday, according to Jared Kravis, so.
Red Sox fans are something else. Anyways, to me, there's an issue as far as leadership on this team? Because when you think about the leadership role, the captain of the Red Sox, quote unquote,
right?
Who would you say it is?
I've been rooting for Xander Bogaerts to have that role a lot for the last couple of years, and I think he does to an extent, not in the extent to the public. I think probably in the locker room it's different. But from what it appears to me, and now you're gonna if I'm just a fan, right? And all I do is watch these games and not watching press conferences or anything like that. If I'm just watching these games, you know who I think the leader of that team is right now, player-wise?
Garrett Richardson?
Nope. Kevin Plawecki.
That's bad.
I'm not saying it's good.
I'm saying that's just bad. That's
he was
leader.
the only one that was hitting while they were going through this rough stretch leading up to last night's 20-8 anomaly. He's the only one that's been making contact. He's been playing. He's a backup catcher, but he's been playing DH. He's been pinch hit a lot. So it's insane, but I really think it's true. And he's the mastermind behind the laundry cart rides after the home runs. And it seems like he's the only person that's trying to keep energy up in the dugout when the rest of them seem depressed at this point.
To me, with all due respect, when I think of Kevin Plawecki on this team,
yeah.
You know who I think of right off the bat?
Who?
Johnny Gomes.
What's wrong with being Johnny Gomes?
I'm just saying, Johnny Gomes is there for that morale boost,
right.
And he's there to say, good job, guys, good job. You gave it your all.
Right.
Unfortunately, that's only going to get you so far.
I mean, Johnny Gomes won a World Series with them.
Thanks to Shane Victorino hitting blast over the monster.
Right. I'm not saying Kevin Plawecki's got to win them a World Series. I'm just saying that he's the cheerleader in the dugout right now, and it seems like he's kind of has to be the responsibility of getting their heads back in the season.
But here's the big
fallen to him.
But here's the big thing: if Kevin Plawecki is the best player on this team's going nowhere. Unfortunately,
right. No, I agree.
Right.
I'm just saying. Your question was, who do you think the leader of this team is right now? And I think it might actually be Kevin Plawecki.
And I'm saying if that's the case, this team's in trouble because you look at the top two guys who you would think would be legitimate leaders on this team.
Right.
Xander Bogaerts over his last 7 games. Now, remember, this is the same guy that after the Sunday Night Baseball collapse that they had against the Rays, came back and said, well, our starting pitching needs to get better. We need to play a lot better.
Yeah.
What exactly did he do? Over the last 7 games, and this includes the 20-8 beatdown or whatever the score was, so these numbers are a bit skewed.
Right.
269 average, a home run, 5 RBI, 7 for 26. Now take away.
So I was going to say that home run was off of a position player.
Francisco
last night
Mejia.
in the 8th inning. Yeah.
That's a good drought buster right there.
Yeah.
So you take away 2 for 4 home run, 4 RBI for Xander Bogaerts, and he has a pedestrian batting average.
Right. Yeah.
JD Martinez is in the same boat here.
Right.
Over his last 7 games, 414 batting average, a home run, 7 RBI, 12 for 29.
Right.
But against Tampa Bay, he went 4 for 4 and 2 RBI.
Right.
And the reason I keep bringing up last night's game is because I think that was more of an anomaly than anything else.
Yeah.
Because you're taking on a pitcher that, he's not your ace, whatever.
Right.
But also, Game 3 of the series is a bullpen game.
Right.
Why in God's green earth is Kevin Cash going to take out this guy who has been serving up lunch, as Eckersley said 37 times last night?
Yeah.
Why are you going to take him out and burn through your bullpen arms? At this point, you do what Alex Cora did with Phillips Valdez, I think was the pitcher. You leave him out there, let him get his bumps. The ERA is going to go up, but you're going to save arms for the next day.
Right.
Right now, I'm not looking at this game as a turnaround point. I've said it all the time here, regardless of the sport. How does a team look after a bunch of losses?
Right.
Happens in football all the time. So how does this team look after going on such a big losing stretch like they have?
Right.
Granted, they got 20 runs against the Rays, but what are you going to do against Tampa Bay in Game 3? What are you going to do against the Orioles this weekend?
Yeah.
To me, this weekend has to be a sweep. If it's anything other than a sweep, it's disappointment for the Red Sox.
Sure, yeah, especially against the Orioles, because I mean, if we were playing by soccer standards in Europe, they wouldn't even be in the MLB anymore. They'd be AAA. This team has been consistently terrible, and if you don't win if you don't sweep this team, especially when we've been hearing, oh, don't worry, help's coming through, Chris Sale's coming back, which is great. Yeah, I'm so excited that Chris Sale's coming back, and I think that he's going to be good. I just, I think the Red Sox as an organization have put too much weight onto his shoulders, being like he's the next coming of Christ coming back to save this freaking team. Like that's a lot of responsibility for one player, especially when you're a starting pitcher and you're going to play every 5 nights or whatever it is. Because at the end of the day, Erod's still going to come up here and choke, and Eovaldi will go, he'll either be fantastic or terrible. It's never in between with him. And you put Richards and Perez in the bullpen. Like there's no way Chris Sale can pull this off on his own. The team has to actually respond and build off the momentum that they had last night, because I think, while you're right, they were like kind of definitely going to score a lot of runs because the starting pitcher for the Rays came out and was bad right off the bat. And they weren't going to pull him. So whether or not he was giving up 10 runs or if he was giving up none, they weren't going to pull him for 5 innings at least anyways, because like you said, today, Thursday, will be a bullpen day. So I think the Red Sox were going to score those runs, but what they need to do is use it as a confidence booster to get their heads back in the game. And if they don't do that, then I'm really going to start to worry about this team.
So here's the thing I'll say about Chris Sale. And I think it's as simple as this. What are the expectations when he comes back to this team on Saturday? Because everyone thinks that he's going to be this guy that
right.
is going to be David Ortiz and just smash the bullpen phone if something doesn't go right.
Well, he has been that person in the past.
Right. Unfortunately, when Chris Sale comes back on Saturday, I don't think Alex Cora is going to say it, but there's going to be a pitch count. There's going to be an innings limit.
It's going to be 90 pitches. Is my best guess.
And guess what? The way this Red Sox pitching staff with the battery of Vasquez, Plawecki behind the plate,
right?
90 pitches at this point is going to get you to the 4th inning.
Right.
The way that some of these batters come out and just keep driving up these counts against the Red Sox pitching.
Well, it's probably going to be Plawecki and Wong because Christian Vasquez is out on bereavement leave now. And and obviously something like that you can't rush. Yeah. And I don't know who it was in his life that passed away, so I have no idea. So, no one's going to rush him back. And that could be bad because how Chris Sale has always been with catchers. For so long, it was like, Christian Vasquez was always, has been for a very long time the best catcher on this team. But when Sandy Leon was there, it was like, oh my God, you have to pull Sandy Leon from Pawtucket, because it was Pawtucket at that point, because Chris Sale's pitching tonight and he refuses to pitch to Vasquez. Well, if he's still not okay with Vasquez, how is he going to be with Plawecki and Wong? Now, obviously, he's been pitching in Worcester the last couple of weeks, and he's had probably different catchers for them, but still, like, he's just one of those guys that's like always stuck in his ways. So I don't know how he's going to react to even that.
And it could have been Wong that he was throwing to in Worcester as well.
That's true. I didn't even think of that. So, maybe they should put Wong out there then.
Yeah, so that's something to think about. But honestly, like I said, anything less than a sweep is going to be bad for the Red Sox.
Sure.
And if you're Chris Sale, to me, what you need to do is just go out there, go 2 times through the batting order, and unfortunately, like I said, this bullpen has been used and abused, but get them out there in the 5th inning on. My question is going to be, what does this team look like as we go into the latter stages of the season?
Right.
And you have 2 discontent Red Sox pitchers in the bullpen right now with Martin Perez and Garrett Richards.
Right.
To me, Perez isn't going to be as much of an issue because he's been in the bullpen before.
Right, yeah.
But you have this freaking hothead in Garrett Richards that, throws a fit if he goes into the bullpen.
Right.
Unfortunately, he sucked all year long, and I think you're going to have to start depending on these guys because Tanner Houck doesn't exactly have the durability to go deep. Nick Pivetta, for some reason, can't go past the 6th inning because Alex Cora, no hitter or not, comes out and takes the ball away.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think we're going to start seeing at this point, now that other teams are starting to play for the postseason, we're going to really start seeing a butting of heads as far as ideologies for the game goes with Alex Cora and Chaim Bloom.
Right.
Because the baseball fan with Alex Cora wants to go give Chris Sale the ball every 5 days, and you know what? If he gives up a couple runs, F it. Have him go 9 innings.
Yeah.
Throw Chris Sale out there and give him the CC Sabathia, Milwaukee Brewers effect. Just throw him out there all the time.
Yeah.
Whereas Chaim Bloom and all those fans are going to say, well, Chris Sale the 3rd time around, not very good. I'd go with a bullpen arm here or here.
Right.
You're going to really start seeing, I think, if the Red Sox don't turn it around, a real budding of styles.
I think, my concern with putting Richards in the bullpen, one, because he's a hothead and it seems like he's they brought it up on the broadcast last night how upset he seems to be for being put in the bullpen, even though last week he admitted that this was the worst season of his career so far. My concern with him is that a lot of Garrett Richards' issues were, as a starting pitcher, was that he'd give up a bunch of runs in the first 2 innings and then be solid for the rest of the rest of his time out there. So if he's in the bullpen, his first inning is the only inning that you are theoretically getting out of him. Now I know they're saying that he's going to do multiple innings, and what I'm going to assume is going to happen is today. This, I don't know when this podcast is going to come out, probably after the game, but
if it comes out at all,
it's going to come out.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Just wanted to check.
My guess is that what Alex Cora is going to do is have Tanner Houck pitch for like 4 innings, and then have Garrett Richards pitch 2.
Or even better, have Houck go for the first 4 innings.
Right.
Have Garrett Richards start throwing in the 3rd inning. That'll be his first inning, and
you just have to there's something going on with Richards mentally, I think, that is preventing him from, doing his best this year. I don't think it's not his stuff, because his pitches are good. He has it. You see flashes of it all the time.
Spin rate, spider.
Oh no, I know it's a spider tack. Everyone knows it's a spider tack, but maybe this time the bullpen will teach him will have him relearn how to throw a pitch without spider tack. Maybe that's what it'll be.
There you go. A nice kumbaya moment. Maybe start a bonfire in the bullpen.
I don't know. I mean, I'm
Make
not
some s'mores.
I'm not the guy's biggest fan, honestly. It seems like he complains all the time, and I can't stand that. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't know. Oh, God. This is just talking about Garrett Richards just takes the air out of my sails all the time.
Well, it's almost sale day, so
you're right. So I really am excited to have Sale back. In general.
I can't wait to see him come back and just listen to the press conferences and
right. Yeah.
brutal honesty he has.
Yeah, we love that. And you know what? Maybe he will start screaming at these players. I've been saying this for so long that I'm like, all I want back from Chris Sale is that guy in the World Series when they were down a couple of games and he was like, this isn't us, pumping up the team and screaming at them and being kind of a dick. But clearly, Mitch Moreland took it to heart and got up there and hit a home run right afterwards.
If you want a guy to start screaming stuff at the Boston Red Sox, just go with a drunk behind the backstop. Just start screaming stuff.
It's different when you're a competitor.
Oh, okay.
It really is. And I've been saying, I think I've said it on Out of Bounds Elites once an episode since he got hurt, but that's what I'm looking forward to.
So some people look at that as a true trade deadline acquisition, getting Chris Sale back along with Tanner Houck coming up. It looks like full time for the rest of the way.
I'm going to assume so, yeah, unless something goes terribly wrong with him.
But you want to talk about something going terribly wrong. How about what Chaim Bloom did at the trade deadline? Because nothing got done by the Boston Red Sox.
Are you changing your mind?
Huh?
Are you changing your mind?
What?
About what Chaim Bloom did or did not do at the deadline?
No, I'm still pro Bloom on this one.
All right. I'm just...
You can listen to it on the last podcast. Oh, my bad.
All right.
Anyways, so there was a lot of activity around Major League Baseball at the trade deadline. Obviously, Max Scherzer, Trey Turner going to the Dodgers, Anthony Rizzo and Joey Gallo going to the Yankees, Jose Barrios going to the Blue Jays, and the Red Sox have Hansel Robles, Austin Davis, and Kyle Schwarber when he eventually gets healthy, all coming to the Boston Red Sox. Yeah. But I think this is a very polarizing issue among Boston sports fans as far as what happened and didn't happen at the trade deadline.
Right. And I mean, it seems like I'm not going to say it was the worst possible situation, because obviously it's not. But I just don't think that Chaim Bloom acted in a way that a GM of a competitive team would. I think that he acted like, my team's middle of the road, so we have to build for the next year. And you know what? I know that's what the Red Sox ownership was looking for. They want someone who will, keep control over the prospects and make sure we don't give up the entire farm system like Dave Dombrowski did. But for your average fan, they're not going to look at it like that. They're going to look at it like, we don't care about next year. Right now, we care about this year. We want to win a championship. So as a Red Sox, looking at it as a strictly Red Sox fan, without caring what ownership thinks, it looks like he did nothing. And that's problematic for a GM that came in here and was immediately not necessarily liked by the fans of this team because the first thing he did when he got here was trade Mookie Betts. No, I'm not saying no.
Right. No.
Right. I'm not saying like whether or not it was a good idea. I can't tell you. Obviously, the Red Sox ownership wanted to be under the cap. They needed to move Mookie in order to do that because they were never going to be able to pay him, and they wanted to get something back for him. That makes sense. Logically, it makes sense. But when it's someone who's like beloved by the fan base as Mookie Betts, and the first thing you do is get rid of him, that's going to be tough on him. And I think he's just kind of consistently digging a grave more and more because while it might make sense to him and it might make sense to the ownership, the fans don't care about that. They don't care about the money because we all know that John Henry has so much money.
And maybe they're making a play to sell the team, like I always say. But
I know you've been saying that for so long.
The thing I look at is what teams gave up. And for a pitcher like Max Scherzer or a player like Anthony Rizzo, Joey Gallo, they're going to help your team. But what exactly are you giving up? And I had this in some of my older notes. I unfortunately don't have them. But a lot of these players that went from, the Cubs, the Rangers, the Nationals, to the Dodgers and the Yankees and whatever, or vice versa.
Yeah.
They were top 50, top 100 prospects.
Right. Yeah.
The Red Sox right now have a couple of prospects in there. One is Tristan Casas, who I don't think the Red Sox are going to get rid of because I think he's probably coming up next year with the Major League Ball Club. But the big thing for Scherzer is he's a free agent after this season.
No, I know you're right.
To get someone like Max Scherzer, you'd have to give up easily Tristan Casas.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they try and make a play for a Pivetta or a Houck. Maybe you can talk them down from that price, but easily you're talking about 2, 3, maybe 4 key contributors for Max Scherzer, who you don't know if he's going to get re-signed. So maybe there was some discussion there.
Right.
But I think you'd have to do the same thing with the Texas Rangers for a Rizzo or a Gallo.
Yeah.
To me, the Red Sox just don't have the prospects right now. And realistically, I agree with Chaim Bloom. Look at what this team needs. Realistically, they probably need a starting pitcher, number 5, that's not named Martin Perez or Garrett Richards.
Right.
They sure as hell need some bullpen help. They need offense at first base, maybe in the outfield as well, some platoon help. Really, right now, is this team worth banking the farm on someone like a Rizzo or a Scherzer?
Right.
I don't think so personally.
Yeah.
We'll get to it in a little bit, but I think this team is a World Series contender.
Yeah.
Do I think they have what it takes to win it? Probably not. I think they may have peaked a little too early like the Celtics did a few years ago. They might just be a few years ahead of where they should be.
Yeah.
But this is a very good sign here, the fact that you can bring players like Hunter Renfroe in, Kike Hernandez, Kevin Plawecki, all these guys coming to the Red Sox on short-term deals and all that, because now you kind of show that you can be this team that can turn around potential prospects like a Hernandez or a Renfroe and maybe trade up, make it almost like rebuilding a house, a rebuilding project.
Yeah.
Flip the house.
I think with one of my bigger sticking points for the trade deadline is I don't understand the thought process into Austin Davies, whatever his name is, for Michael Chavis, because Austin Davis is terrible. His ERA is like insane for a bullpen guy, and Michael Chavis is one of those prospects that has been actually productive for you recently. So I don't understand. I mean, like obviously he's not Duran or Dahlback even, but that one itself didn't make much sense to me, because if you're just going to get rid of Chavis like that, like at least package him with somebody else and get somebody better than Austin Davis.
The thing is, I think this trade was done, quote unquote, at 4 o'clock, after 4 o'clock on the trade deadline. But I'm not sure what Chavis has left as far as options, because the Red Sox could have basically cut ties with him but not get anything back. But I don't think he can be optioned back to Worcester anymore. I think they optioned him like 3 different times.
Yeah.
So maybe that played into it.
Yeah, that's possible.
I don't know. I'm sure we'll be corrected at some point in the future.
I'm honestly surprised that they didn't try to make him a first baseman.
Yeah. That would have made more sense, I think.
I mean, like, I'm not saying his bat was that much better than Bobby Dahlback's, but like literally anyone's bat is better than Bobby Dahlback's. But can we just talk... I want to go back to last night's game real quick because I remember sitting there watching the game and thinking, how bad is your pitcher when you're intentionally walking Bobby Dahlback? They're like, oh, I want to get a lefty on lefty. All right, fine. I get it. The stupid Tampa Bay Rays and their analytics, I get it. But, like, intentionally walking Bobby Dahlback is... that's up there with the we really are losing this game situation. Like, that was when I knew it was over. If they're... Oh, yeah. And I think they were only up by, like, 8 runs at that point. But I was like...
Only 8 runs.
This is right. I was like, yeah, but this is the Red Sox in the last couple of weeks. No lead has been safe. I mean, even look at the ninth inning last night. Freaking Phillips Valdez, who they have now opted back to Worcester in order to make room for Tanner Houck. He gave up 7 runs in the 9th inning. If the offense hadn't like literally just been working the whole game, they would have lost that game last night.
Yeah, they got out early in the count. That's what you need to do against someone that's.
Yeah.
I'm guessing a little nervous as this starting pitcher for Tampa Bay was,
right.
So maybe that played into it.
It's weird though because like he's been starting for like a while now, and he has a win against the Red Sox. I think last night was just kind of a bad night for him. Honestly, I don't think he's a bad pitcher. I just think he was struggling a little bit with his stuff, as Dennis Eckersley would call it. Why do I keep wanting to call everybody David today? Holy God!
Do you know a David?
I
something?
don't. I really don't even think I do.
I don't think I do.
I mean, like, no, I'm gonna, like, I might have, like, no, I don't think I have, I don't even think I have a friend named David at this point.
You don't have a friend named David? You don't have a coworker named David?
I don't.
Anyways, getting back to Dahlback for a second here, and then I'll get back to Bloom.
Yeah.
But his last 7 games, 375 batting average, no home runs, 6 RBI,
yeah.
6 for 16.
Sure.
Take away last night.
Yeah.
That batting average is a lot lower.
Right.
He's 4 for 13 with 1 RBI.
Right.
So,
I think last night he had like 2 hits, 2 walks, and a hit by pitch.
Yeah.
So he made it on base every single time he was at bat.
Hey, Bobby D's getting it done.
Yeah. You know what? Sometimes you got to put good at bats together. If like Alex Cora says, just got to keep putting good at bats together.
It's all about making sure you have the right analytics.
Oh, God, I hate the analytics.
So this is Bloom on the Red Sox trade deadline, inactivity, activity, whatever you want to call it.
Is this him from Section 10? Like, is this his interview with Section 10 that you're
I don't
quoting?
think so. This is actually from the Boston Herald.
Oh, okay.
So it may be taken from there. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But he said, quote, if we want the future to be really good, you have to take care of the future, and you have to care about that. That's a very difficult tightrope to walk. It's a tough balance. I think it was really tough this year in what I think turned out to be a big-time seller's market in a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we just need to stay strong with our plan and try to walk that tightrope as much as we can. A lot of what we saw today that our competitors did back on the trade deadline, they were in a position to do because they had done the right thing and the disciplined thing over a long period of time to build up that organizational strength and to build up a huge trove of young players that they can either use to help their club or to move in trades. That goes back to what I said. This is all about building up those assets. Dave Dombrowski ravaged the Red Sox minor league farm system.
Yeah.
You brought Bloom in here to be the guy to build it back up.
Yeah.
There were rumors, whether they were true or not, that John Henry and ownership wanted Chaim Bloom to, quote-unquote, sell the farm for someone like Scherzer.
Right.
My question here is, if you're Chaim Bloom, I'm asking ownership, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to be the guy that builds up the farm system?
Right.
Or do you want me to be the guy that trades for Max Scherzer for 3 months?
I honestly think those reports were completely bogus because I don't think John Henry, after like the penny pitching that he's been doing the last couple of years since they like were freaking out about the tax thing on the trade cap or the salary
CBT.
cap. Wow, I don't know why that said that. It was so hard to say for me.
Speaking's hard.
Like, I think
for me.
someone like just put that out there because they wanted the fans to calm down because the fans were like freaking out about getting Scherzer or Rizzo or whoever, and like I remember like there was one tweet like the week or two before the MLB trade deadline. It was like this time next week, Anthony Rizzo's going to be a Red Sox and Jack Eichel's going to be a Bruin, and I retweeted it. I was like, guarantee you neither one of these things happened. I was right. Neither one of those things happened. I guess there's still time for Eichel, but I'm not going to hold my breath on that for sure. But it's just like, the Red Sox fans are very vocal. Like, they're very loud. And I think sometimes maybe, especially when you have, Nesson is owned by the Red Sox. I think it's like one of those things. It's like, just put the story out there so it makes it look like it's true, just to shut them up for a little while we figure out what we actually need to do.
Well, right now, John Henry's starting to piss off two fan bases.
Starting?
Well, I think the Red Sox, they kind of forgave and forget a little bit.
No. The Liverpool fan base, if that's where you're going with this, hates him. There's not starting. They hate him.
Well, right. But now you have to worry about a second fan base with the Boston Red Sox if you aren't trying to put things out there.
Don't worry, John. LeBron James is going to come and save John Henry's ass.
I'm kind of surprised.
Just you watch.
I'm kind of surprised LeBron James didn't have a say at the trade deadline.
He may have. Maybe he really likes Kyle Schwarber. You don't know.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Here's the thing with Kyle Schwarber. He was brought here and he was on the 10-day IL list.
Yeah.
The Red Sox traded away a pitcher named Aldo Ramirez.
Yep.
He was on the 7-day IL list for his arm.
Right.
So this was like basically just crossing off things.
Yeah.
I don't know why people are so butthurt about Kyle Schwarber. Yes, I understand he's played maybe 2 at-bats at first base.
Yeah.
Look at what you have right now. You have a very inconsistent hitter in Bobby Dahlbeck who can kind of field.
Right.
You have Christian Arroyo, who tried out for the U.S. gymnastics team with his split at first base.
But that's what I'm not mad about Schwarber. I think it was a great bat pickup. I just don't want to see the Red Sox force him to play a position that he doesn't play and has never really played, and just do the same thing they did to Christian Arroyo and get the guy hurt again is when he finally comes back. I mean, he's already suffered a setback because he was trying to work out at first base and did something to his groin. That's exactly what happened to Christian Arroyo.
Here's what I say. Listen, Kyle, this is all you need to do. Catch the ball. You don't need to do a stretch.
Yeah.
You don't need to jump. You don't need to do anything out of the normal.
Right.
Just be there, put your foot on the bag, wait for the ball to hit your glove, and that's it. I'm not expecting Kyle Schwarber to come out here and look like, a Hall of Fame first baseman, but also Red Sox fans need to kind of relax a little bit. I think Schwarber, when he comes to be with the Red Sox, I think he'll be a pretty good contributor.
Yeah, as long as he can stay healthy and the Red Sox don't push him too far. That's all that I'm worried about at this point.
All right, and quickly here, despite the 2-7 start to the month, can Boston be a true World Series contender?
I think, obviously this first couple weeks have been bad, but they were doing so well for so long before that I'm hopeful that this is just a bad slump, and that at some point, hopefully last night, they're just going to get a kick in the rear end and they're going to start performing the way they were before. I do think they're still capable of that. If the slump continues for another week or two, then I'm going to start to be like, oh, well, better luck next year, folks. We'll see what happens. But, as of right now, I'm still hopeful that, I'm not going to put any money on them winning the World Series, but I'm not going to I'm not going to find something else to watch in October just yet.
I might. NBA preseason basketball.
Nope. Don't want it.
I think the Red Sox do have a legitimate shot at being a World Series contender. Mm-hmm. For this reason, they still have a bunch of games left against the Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays don't have Tyler Glasnow, who's out to Tommy John surgery now.
Yeah, they really mishandled that.
Yeah.
They really mishandled that.
Well, honestly, I think there might have been a little bit of a play there because if the Red Sox found out Glasnow was out with Tommy John surgery before the trade deadline, maybe you make a bigger play for someone like a Jose Barrios. But if you look and say, well, Glasnow probably is coming back for September. Right. Why do we really want to go tit for tat here with the Tampa Bay Rays?
Yeah, that's fair.
Maybe that played into it a little bit because, oddly enough, the announcement didn't come down until I think right after the deadline passed.
But my thing is that's dangerous playing with one of your players' health like that. Like, clearly something was wrong with his shoulder his elbow. Like, he should have had surgery a couple of months ago when he originally got out.
And realistically, he could have had surgery right at the deadline and things like that. I'm guessing they did try and work him out, try and get the second and third opinion, but maybe there was a little bit of gamesmanship there between the Red Sox and
I don't know. I just think that, there's one thing to have gamesmanship and kind of smudge the truth a little bit, but it's another thing entirely to play with somebody's health in order to do that.
So you have the Tampa Bay Rays situation I talked about, but also you're only, 4 games back in the standings as of when we're recording this before Game 3 of the series?
Yeah.
Realistically, if you start the month of September off if you're down by games, maybe 3-4 games, that's perfectly fine for the way this team plays.
Yeah.
I think the offense of this team is going to start, clicking again.
Right.
Maybe not to the extent of 20-8.
Yeah, probably
but
not.
Getting out there, giving a few runs of support. Plus, you have the Houck, Sale Express coming back to the rotation. So
yeah.
I'm not exactly the biggest Red Sox honk, but you know what?
Yeah.
I'm feeling pretty good if I'm a Red Sox fan.
Same. I'm not throwing the funeral just yet for this season.
I'm feeling.
And honestly, even if they don't, they make it 1 or 2 rounds in the playoffs, it's such a better product than it was last year that I'm going to be happy no matter what happens at the end of this year, I think.
I think just as long as there's fans in the actual home stadium, not like an empty place in San Diego.
Yeah.
So I'd be all right if I'm a Red Sox fan. I'm feeling pretty good as a Celtics fan with their newest acquisition in Dennis Schroder coming to the Boston Celtics.
Is it Schroder or is it Schroder?
Schroder. Schroder the shooter.
So you're telling me Schroder and Linus are in Boston now, but neither one of them go by that pronunciation?
I think if Jeremy Jacobs tries to legally change Linus's name to Linus, that would be the biggest cash grab. Can you imagine?
Like some dumb thing that the Jacobs family would try to do too.
Instead of the yellow playoff rally towels,
blue blankets.
Bingo.
Wow.
And Schroder, every time after a 3, you just start playing the piano. Another idea.
We love it. Wow. We should work for marketing at the Garden.
All right,
Delaware North. Hire us.
We'll just cut that little bit out there, send that over.
Right.
But it's interesting because Schroder did sign a 1-year, $5.9 million mid-level exception contract with the Boston Celtics.
Right.
That's one thing.
Well, didn't you think they were going to use that mid-level exception on Isaiah Thomas?
I thought they were. I mean, I'm liking Schroder instead for sure.
I mean, sure.
But just the story, because Schroder initially turned down an $80 million contract extension with the Los Angeles Lakers during last regular season. So he turned down an $80 million contract extension with the Lakers. I didn't know.
This is new information to me. I did not know this.
It's okay. I said it earlier today, so whatever. And
did you?
I did. And signed a 1-year contract with the Celtics. I'm used to you ignoring me. But apparently people were saying that LeBron wasn't a big fan of Schroder because Schroder didn't view LeBron as Big Papa LeBron like everybody else in the NBA does.
That's why he shipped Kyle Kuzma out of town, too.
Right. And right now, if I'm Dennis Schroder and the Boston Celtics, this is the best possible thing that could ever happen.
Yeah.
A, the cost of the contract, $5.9 million.
Not a lot.
B, it's 1 year for a team that is hell-bent on signing a bunch of small-term contracts.
Yeah, so that they can get Dame or whoever is or no, not Dame, Bradley Beal next year. Yeah.
So you have that. For Schroder, this works out even better because it's 1 year. Odds are you'll probably beat Marcus Smart out for the starting point guard position.
True. Oh, are you finally going to let go of the Marcus Smart as your point guard stance?
He's a captain. Okay, Captain Smart.
Oh my God. Whatever. Sure.
So you have that. Plus, it gives this team a little bit of attitude that they haven't really had.
Yeah.
Marcus Smart is the only guy that has attitude, and he takes it to the next level when he punches some guy in the groin. You need that guy, I think, to give some veteran leadership to because this Schroder has been around for a while, especially with Atlanta.
Yeah.
But he's also been able to work with some of the top players in the league.
Right.
Obviously, he worked with LeBron and AD last year. I don't think those personalities are going to be anything close to what the Celtics personality is with Tatum and Brown. But to me, I think this is a perfect setup here for both the Celtics and Dennis Schroder.
I mean, sure. I'm glad that it's only 1 year, though, especially because if what you're really looking for from this guy is that he's a veteran leader that's supposed to, help these young guys. We've gone through so many of those guys, it seems, in the last couple of years that the Celtics are just throwing away big contracts. Like when you think about Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving and Kemba Walker, none of it worked out, none of it. So I'm glad it's a 1 year contract. So if this doesn't work out like the others didn't, that we can just be like, all right, well, this was a great time, but see you later, and get Beal. And because at this point, it's getting to the point where these veteran leaders are helping these young guys. So Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum aren't young guys anymore. They're young age-wise, but now they've been in the league for 4 or 5 years.
Jason Tatum's a gold medalist now.
It's true. Sometimes you gotta just go saddle up with Kevin Durant, and when he's on Brooklyn next year, guess we'll see.
Okay, well, we'll get to that in a little bit.
Okay.
But getting back to Schroder, the other thing is, since it's a 1 year contract, if he kills it in the first half of the regular season, that is an exceptional piece of trade bait.
Right.
If you end up being in a playoff race for home court or whatever in the Eastern Conference playoffs.
Yeah.
But I went through the last 3 seasons for him, and last season he had 61 starts. The season before that with the Oklahoma City Thunder, 2 starts. And he averaged, 15 points a game last year, about 19 points a game the season before.
That's not bad.
To me, this gives a little bit of a boost here. You talk about the other players that haven't worked out. Kyrie was a head case. Kemba was always hurt. But you look at what the Celtics had on the bench, the likes of a Jeff Teague. Jeff Teague was getting ready to go play overseas or in the Big Three or something. His career was done.
Jeff Teague just won a championship.
As a 4th point guard on the team.
Well, he's got.
That's like saying
he's
Brian
got a championship, and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum
That's
don't.
like saying Brian Scalabrine was the most crucial part of the 08 Celtics.
I'm not saying. I never said he was a crucial part. I'm just telling you that he is now a world champion. That's all. Just pointing it out.
Oh, okay.
You made it seem like he was going to go retire and go play in France, but he didn't. He went and played in Milwaukee and won a championship.
As a filler, but I digress.
Just saying, it's better to be a champion and a filler than a starter who can't win.
The point guard depth, as we change.
Whatever, sure.
I think it kind of makes things better because, like I said, for the starting point guard role, you can go back and forth with Smart and Schroder. Peyton Pritchard's starting to improve. He's been doing pretty well in the Summer League, which you can make that conversation. But even last year, Pritchard was pretty impressive as a rookie on this team. And Josh Richardson, I think, gives you a little more size as well. But all these point guards can also play defense, something that Kemba Walker wasn't as voluntary to do because of all of his knee injuries.
It's going to be a weird question. How tall is Schroder? Schroder, whatever his name is. I'm going to keep calling him Schroder. That's not going to be good.
Okay, Lucy. Let's see here. Let's spell his name right. Is there an X in Dennis Schroder? No.
No.
Well, that's Wikipedia. That's not going to help.
Yeah, don't trust Wikipedia.
Nope. I mean, sometimes people can change things that aren't true. I mean, you're banned from IMDb for killing people off.
Yes.
He is 6'3".
See, that's way taller than Kemba Walker, right?
Anybody's taller than Kemba Walker.
I'm just saying, like, their point guards have been, like, historically microscopic for the last couple of years. So.
Okay. Not microscopic, okay. They're not yay tall.
Compared to others in the league, they're Isaiah Thomas is really short, and then, like, Kemba Walker's only a little bit taller than him.
Trae Young?
So at least from, but you have to be, like, as talented as Trae Young, too, to also be that short. And the other two aren't, so.
So Brad Stevens has been busy, apparently, especially at the point guard position, acquiring Josh Richardson and now Dennis Schroder. He's also brought back some familiar faces. Schroder the shooter, yes.
That will be helpful to me. I'll remember that now.
You're not, because we talked about this today, and you forgot the discussion that we had like 3 hours ago.
Yeah, but that's
one thing.
This one's recorded.
You also forgot the fact that your computer that this program gets edited on doesn't have an SD card slot. So I don't know if you want to start talking about remembering things.
I'm going to remember that. I swear to God, I'm going to remember that.
You're going to remember it because this is getting taken out when you edit it. Anyways.
No.
So there are some new faces coming to the Celtics, but there's also some familiar faces as Enes Kanter and Al Horford are returning to the Celtics.
Right.
It's been a busy offseason for Brad Stevens in his first offseason as the president of basketball operations.
I know. Yeah, he's definitely putting the work in, which is good to see. It doesn't feel like any of the moves that he made are like huge deals, but it seems like he's at least working in the right direction. So that's helpful. And like you said, next year is going to be probably going to end up being their big year when it comes to free agency stuff. I don't know what to think about Enes Kanter. I like him as a person. I like him as a player. I'm glad he's back in Boston. Does he keep his apartment in Boston and in Portland? Because it seems like those two teams are just back and forth. Because it's like Portland, Boston. Portland, now he's back in Boston.
There's worse
Is he going to be in
places
Portland next year? No, I agree. I'm just saying, like, this poor man's got to keep 2 houses now because he's going to just keep being passed between these 2 teams, it seems.
Oh, no. Poor Enes Kanter. He has 2 apartments and $1 million going around.
I'm just saying. Like, where do you keep your family? Like, what if he has a girlfriend or a wife? I don't know if he's married, but, like...
I'm not going to
keep rooting out these people's lives. Like at least, but like if I don't know if he has kids, like if he has kids, like he's like, oh well, at least I still have friends in Portland and friends in Boston. It's like they don't have to keep remaking Friends.
Making friends is so difficult. Anyways,
right? For me it was.
Anyways, the Al Horford contract, the trade with Oklahoma City for Kemba Walker, and then he got bought out and went to New York.
Yeah.
But with the Horford deal, this year is guaranteed, but next year is an option. So the Celtics can easily get away from that contract. Cantor is short-term, short money.
Right.
And that's what a lot of these contracts are, building for the future. Now, whether Brad Stevens is here next year or not, that could be another question for another time.
Yeah.
But this puts whoever is the president of basketball operations next year in a much better place than where Brad Stevens was, because he was left basically playing Monopoly with a couple $100.
Right.
Like, there's not much you can do, so that he's sitting here trying to make chicken salad out of chicken blank with some of these moves that he has.
Right.
Trading the likes of, Moses Brown, I think, was the backup center.
Right.
That went from Oklahoma City to Boston. He went from Boston to Dallas in that Josh Richardson trade.
Right.
And this Schroder deal could be the biggest steal of the offseason in the NBA, because Schroder was expected to make probably between 20 and 25 million, I would think. And here he is signing a borderline $6 million mid-level exception.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is going to be like he didn't want to play with LeBron, and I don't even know what benefits he gets from this, because it's only 1 year, but it's like he doesn't need a prove it contract if he was offered a deal to that magnitude from the Lakers. So I'm confused that maybe it's just one of those things that's like, oh, well, I've always wanted to play for the Celtics. Great organization, 17 championships, woohoo. Maybe it's just one of those things. And Brad Stevens is like, well, I can't really afford you. And he's like, but I will become affordable. It's possible. That could have been what happened. It just seems odd to me. I still don't understand what he gets out of this.
So on Instagram, Schroder posted, quote, "This is one of the best franchises in NBA history, and it will be an honor." You misspelled honor, but
well,
to put on the green and white and do what I love. I'm going out there every night and leaving it on the floor for the city. Who's ready? Now, after the Suns-Lakers series, when the Lakers got embarrassed by the Suns because LeBron and AD were hurt, this is what Schroder said. He told the reporters, quote, "You got to go through the bull blank to get the good blank." And, you can fill in the blanks there, but, not very fun times there for Schroder.
But not for nothing. Kyrie Irving said the same basic bullshit about the Celtics when he got here, and look what happened with that. Oh, my number's gonna be retired. No, it still might, because it's the Celtics we're talking about.
Yeah, Peyton Pritchard could have it retired.
My question is, how long until Brad Stevens announces that they're retiring Danny Ainge's number? Because we've talked about this in past. Does Danny Ainge's number get retired? And you always thought it's because he's a GM and he won't let it happen. Which is fair, because it's uncomfortable to throw yourself a ceremony like that. But now he's retired, and we don't know if he's retired. Apparently, he's going to be working somewhere else. But whatever. He's not in the Celtics organization anymore. Do they do a combined ceremony for him and Kevin Garnett? Have they done that ceremony yet? No, they haven't.
No, there was a pandemic that poo-pooed all the plans.
Because in my head, I was like, wait a second. It just occurred to me, they haven't. They announced 2 years that 2 years ago that they were retiring 5 for Kevin Garnett.
Something else happened in the last 2 years.
But does that mean who has his number right now? Time Lord?
No. Who? Danny Ainge?
Yeah.
He was 44, right?
Yeah, I think that's what Robert Williams is playing under. Hey, who cares if Robert Williams gets a new number? Not me. No one has his jersey at this point.
Talking about another player that could have his number retired. Talking about number 0 himself, Jason Tatum.
Oh,
because he played overseas in Tokyo, and he's coming back with a gold medal.
Is
a lot
he,
of
though?
it is thanks to Kevin Durant, but Jaylen Brown might have taken the gold medal.
I was going to say, it seems to me like Jaylen Brown may have stolen that from him, but,
Jason Tatum will probably be back there in Paris in 2024 winning his own gold medal.
It's possible.
But
it's possible.
Jason Tatum had truly a hot and cold performance in the Olympics this year. As I mentioned, Kevin Durant was the catalyst for Team USA's gold medal efforts. But
as he usually is.
Jason Tatum was actually pretty impressive in Tokyo. I know you were just sitting there taking notes every single game.
I watched 3 combined quarters of basketball. I watched more women's basketball because, let's be honest, that team was way more entertaining than the men's team.
Oh, for sure. I think it's 55 straight games they've won.
Right. Oh, God.
But I will say Jason Tatum actually had some interesting performances. Going back to the game against France, he had a couple of blocks there. Against Iran, he had a block. Czech, he had a couple of blocks.
Yeah.
He's also getting a lot more defensive rebounds, a lot more steals.
That's because Ime was on the sideline being like, "We need to rebound more."
I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, I do
because
too.
Jason Tatum's starting to show a little more defensively.
Right.
And that was his biggest thing last year, the way he just gave up on plays. But you look at the turnaround from the game against Iran to the game against the Czech Republic, both of them I know, really strong basketball powers here.
Yeah.
But against Iran, he had 14 points on 5 of 11 shooting. Against the Czech Republic, 27 points on 10 of 16 shooting.
Yeah.
But like I said, more importantly, in that game against the Czech, 2 defensive rebounds, 2 blocks. This is what the Celtics need.
Right.
And if you get this Jason Tatum coming back to the Celtics next season, I think this makes the Celtics probably a top 4 team in the NBA.
You know what concerns me?
What's that?
Because and this actually does concern me because we heard it after the bubble season. How long is it into the season until we hear from Jason Tatum that he's tired? He didn't get a lot of time off. He went to the Olympics. He didn't get a lot of rest until training camp will start. I don't know when training camp starts, but I assume it's relatively soon for the Celtics. The next couple of weeks. Oh, is it? Is it wait until October? Oh, I don't know why I thought it was September. Never mind.
Yeah, the season doesn't start now until I think the week before October or week before Halloween.
Oh, is that new?
No, that's the way it's been. They were the couple of truncated seasons that made things a little unique.
Right. Okay, so all right. So maybe he'll have enough rest then. Never mind. My point's gone. I was under the impression that they were going to start training camp like next month, and him just be like, "I'm exhausted," which is fair because like he never had a break. But it just seems like it's not a lot of rest time for these guys. And look at freaking Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday. They straight up got on a plane like what, the night they won the championship and went to Tokyo or something like that.
You had to wait for the hangover to go away.
Right. Like that's some dedication to like I really didn't think those guys were going to show up.
But I was impressed more with Tatum in the gold medal game against France. He had 19 points, 7 defensive rebounds.
That's crazy.
And the question coming into the game, and Vince Carter said it during the NBC broadcast, was Kevin Durant is going to kick ass in this game.
Right.
The question is, who's going to be there to help him?
Yeah.
Turns out it was Jason Tatum with his 19 points and 8 of 14 shooting.
Yeah.
Now, there were some tendencies that looked like we were starting to see the Tatum of pass with all those three-pointers he shot up.
Yeah.
But the more he goes inside, I think with his length and height, I think that makes him more of a dangerous contributor.
Yeah.
That's how you get the foul calls. You go into the paint, you put your head down and charge.
Right.
If you're getting foul calls in FIBA, you're sure as hell going to get some foul calls in the NBA.
Right.
Let me just say as a sidebar, the FIBA rules, bring those to the NBA. Those were the best game rules I have ever seen.
Speaking of game rules, sticking to NBA, but going slightly off topic, what is this new thing that I saw on Twitter the other day about them penalizing flops?
I haven't seen that.
I know, maybe now I'm worried that the thing I read it on was like some kind of like dumb thing.
Was that The Onion?
Because the headline was like, "Watch out, James Harden. The NBA is penalizing flops now," or something like that.
Well, they've always penalized flops. It's just nobody's going to call that on James Harden because they'll not have a tire on their car. It's a few months away.
Oh, right. Yeah, we're going really fast.
Who knows?
Into the Olympics.
We could see a familiar face in David Krejci as well. He's no longer on the Boston Bruins. He is going to be playing in the Czech Republic.
Yep.
He had a 4-page Instagram post. Does that sound right?
It was Instagram, Twitter, whatever, all your social medias.
A 4-slide post. How's that on different social media platforms saying he wanted to play in front of his family, his kids, his friends in the Czech Republic.
Which makes sense.
But Don Sweeney didn't seem to exactly poo-poo the idea of David Krejci coming back to play for the Bruins, saying, ultimately, with David making his decision, we're wondering whether or not he may return at some point in time, but that's an open-ended situation.
Right.
And listening to Jim Murray on Felger and Mass, who apparently had a friend that works in the Garden or with the Bruins, whatever it was.
Yeah.
The hope, I think, is that it sounds like they want Krejci to come back for the playoff run because apparently in the Czech Republic, the season goes till February, March, something like that. So maybe he comes back for the playoffs, but then you have to worry about different waiver things and all that.
Right,
so
yeah.
maybe he is coming back, but the Bruins are losing a good contributor in David Krejci, especially on that second line that you're starting to revamp now that Taylor Hall's back.
And it seemed like he was getting better instead of getting worse in the especially in the the playoffs in the bubble, and then last season, especially getting Hall, because he finally had a line mate, and even Craig Smith. He finally had line mates that would actually be productive with him, and that's been like a huge sticking point for the Bruins and the Bruins fans for forever, is that you have a center to the caliber of David Krejci, who could be a first-line center on a lot of teams in the NHL, with terrible wingers. Like, not terrible, but none of them really melded in the way you see Bergeron and Marchand meld with each other, and so Krejci never really had that. And then Taylor Hall shows up, and now Krejci has that. But then you're like, oh, well, Hall and Krejci are free agents, so how are they going to work that? And obviously, Krejci ended up deciding to go home and play in the Czech Republic, which is fair. He's getting to the closing part of his career. He wants to go home. I don't know if he's going to be playing for his country in the Olympics. Mm-hmm. It could be, obviously. The part about him maybe coming back, I mean, I guess it's always going to be open-ended, and I think that the Bruins would probably welcome him back with open arms, no matter where they're standing, going into the playoffs. Because, like, even if I don't see the Bruins being terrible, like they're not going to be the Buffalo Sabres. It's still going to be really tough for them to go up against Tampa Bay in their division now that the divisions are back to normal. That's always going to be tough for them, but I don't see them not making the playoffs. We're going back to normal and watching them beat Toronto Maple Leafs the first round of the playoffs again.
They'll do it one year. Toronto will.
We might not be alive for it, but it'll happen eventually. I think that whether they're the first place team in the East or they're second, third, fourth, like, they're going to want David Krejci back. They're not going to say no to him. I wonder, though, like, what is the state of the world going to be in February? Are we going to end up being back into lockdown because of new coronavirus stuff? And is he even going to be able to travel back to the U.S.? So that's an open-ended thing, and that'll be an issue, too. And whether the Winter Olympics even happen, that's also another thing that we don't actually know for sure yet. So, I would be happy if Krejci came back. I didn't want to see him go, but I understand the decision he made for him and his family, and it makes sense.
Just quickly here, it looks like the Bruins are moving on from Tuukka Rask. They did pick up two goalies at the start of free agency, Troy Grosnick and Linus Ullmark. Yep. Ullmark, a backup goalie with the Buffalo Sabres. Yeah. Did have a decent amount of time over the past couple years, but still, it looks like the Tuukka era looks like officially done. It's like
Going out so quietly because, like, no one cares, because there's so much stuff going on in Boston sports in general right now, with the Red Sox being all over the place, and
Patriots
the Patriot, and it's like Cam versus Mac,
Schroder the shooter,
and the Celtics are in the mix, and I think it's more or less like, Jason Tatum in the Olympics have been kind of the Revolution, of the best team in the Eastern Conference of the MLS right now. Shout out Revolution. We should watch more of their games, because clearly they're the best team in New England right now.
Yeah, I think, you talk about the goalies being something to look at. I think you look at also the defense core.
Right.
The defense pairings, because I don't know if you can go into another season with McAvoy and Grzelcyk as your top pairing defensemen.
You're such a hater of the McAvoy-Grzelcyk trade, and I don't appreciate it.
No, I think they're good defensemen, but I don't know if they're the top pairing on the defensemen for the Boston Bruins. I don't know if you put them on any other team in the AHL. Are they the top pairing on the defensive end?
Yeah, that's fair.
So, I mean, it's not as much of a dig at McAvoy and Grzelcyk. It's just saying that this Bruins team is so thin defensively. I mean, you just signed Mike Riley to a 3-year contract extension, and that's supposed to be one of the biggest signings Bruins have made so far.
Yeah.
As far as the defense core. So that's just something to look at. There's still a long time to go. In the AHL offseason. I guess we're out of time.